right, welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And tonight, you already know what it is. It's a Tuesday spotlight, which means I've got a fellow content creator with me, my guy, dear friend, Niner Nate. What's up, Nate? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I know we just lost the NFC Championship, but I've watched that Trey Lance video at least 50 times between the Jimmy Garoppolo disaster piece and today, and I'm feeling real damn good.
Good, man. That's awesome. Well, listen, for those of you that don't know Nate, he and I actually met on Twitter. He had me on his podcast. Let me bring this mic closer. I don't know why it's so far away. I mean, you know what? My son, he's in here always doing his schoolwork. It was probably really hard to hear everything I just said. Either way, listen, Nate and I met on Twitter, and we've been doing these spaces really for a majority of the season. He had me on his show, his podcast, which the links are down in the description. It's Niner Nate's Nonsense. Nate, why don't you tell us about the podcast a little bit and an upcoming episode that you have going on?
So basically, I wanted to do a 49er podcast. I just wanted to be optimistic and just enjoy the season with a bunch of people and talk to a bunch of different content creators. Obviously, like I have my own co-host, but talk to a lot of different people on that show. You've been on it a couple times. And we just, we had an episode every week. And the one episode that really stood out to me was during the bye week, we did something that I like to call the Great 49ers Roundtable. And it was awesome. I got to bring a bunch of people on for 10 to 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure you were a part of that as well. And, getting to get a bunch of different perspectives. And yeah, you're all talking about the same thing. But because everyone has a different perspective on it, it's really fun. And so it was like an hour and a half long, which I don't like to do long podcasts, but it was super fun. And so I thought the team got to the NFC Championship. They deserve a little more than just a normal podcast as a farewell to the 2021 season. So I booked as many people as I can get. I got my normal co-host, Vinny Saglambeni. I got you. I got John Chapman. I got Angie from the 49 Carats podcast. I got Jamal from Jasper and Jamal 49er Talk. I've got Jason Aponte from Sprint Rate Option. I've got Rob Stats Guerrero from Niner Nation. I got Javier Vega from the Hey There podcast on Niners Nation. I also got there's a couple more. I got Brian from the Denim Dungeon, and there's a couple more. I feel bad. Oh, I got Vish from Blake and Vish Sports, and then I know I'm forgetting someone, and I feel terrible. I'm forgetting them, but I'm pretty sure that. And I also have David Lichty, and then also Marco Martinez. And so if I'm forgetting anybody else, but it was just a huge thing, and it's going to go up the Monday before the Super Bowl. It's going to be real big. I'm real excited, and that's how we're going to send away this NFC almost champion season.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a way to go out. I mean, there's definitely names in there that everybody in the chat probably recognizes. We got the Wrench crew going up. So I don't know. You know that my old channel got taken down, right?
Yeah.
So last night, and this happens every once in a while. Last night I'm doing a show and people are coming in like crazy, dropping stupid comments, whatever. So I'm in the middle of talking with Jamal, and the chat's just going crazy. Like, Jesse, you got to get rid of this guy, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, between that show and tonight, I've added like 15 moderators to the channel. So at any given moment, the Wrench crew is going down. Hopefully they can get rid of any riffraff tonight. But yeah, listen, Nate, so you and I
forgot one person, by the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's in the comments. Amin the Dream.
Amin the Dream. There you go.
The GOAT. He's coming on. He's going to be in there as well. I knew I was forgetting someone, and it happened to be someone in the chat, so it made it real easy.
There you go. That's exactly it. But all right. So end of the season just happened. Super disappointing because we know that when seasons end, you never know what to expect the next season. We've talked about how there was the mass exodus in the Harbaugh era. We thought that team would be competitive for a long time, and then it wasn't. And then we talked about 2019 and how after 2019, COVID happened. Nobody even knew what the heck COVID was. Then all of a sudden it's a thing. There's no fans in the stadium. Team has tons of injuries in conjunction with COVID, and they're not competitive. So we have no idea what's going to happen next year. We don't know what the injuries are going to look like. Schedule is definitely going to be tougher. It always is when you're competitive. And we've got essentially a rookie quarterback taking over. But before we get into next year and some of the things we can expect from the offseason, how will you remember this season?
I think I'm gonna remember just by basing, all the nonsense that went on Twitter, and the fact that this team, and here's where I'm gonna get a little sentimental because I kind of have to. This team was 3-5. I went to a Colts game where it rained the whole game, and nobody looked good. Not one player on the team looked good. And I was like, me and my dad were walking out of that stadium that night, like drenched and just soaked, wanting just to take our clothes off and go throw them in the dryer, and just like, this is over. This team's garbage. Like, they just need to start Trey Lance next week when they play the Rams. And whatever happened, whether it was, that locker room getting energized, or Kyle saying, no, 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 this isn't happening to me, or whatever happened with the owners, something happened. And this team did something that nobody thought was possible. And they made it to the NFC Championship. And obviously, like, I understand everyone's like, oh, I want my ring. I want to win 6, all this stuff. Yeah, I get it, right? But the fact that this team even played in the NFC Championship is one of the most amazing things I think I've seen any sports team do in a long time. And I think the fact that they were just not good and somehow made it this far is so impressive. And I'm really happy about the fact that things are changing in this league. And this is probably the season that we remember as the season before things got really damn good.
Yeah, I think you said it really well. It's a transitional season, and not just to the future, but everything that happened this season was a transition. You talk about the offseason. We were talking backstage in last year's draft before they actually made the trade. And I was telling you that I was mocking corners. I was really heavy into JC Horn. Thought he would be a perfect pick for the 49ers. And then they make the move up to 3, and it's obviously a quarterback at 3. But there was some rumblings that they were looking into quarterback. There was nothing imminent or for sure. And then when that move happened, it was obvious. So it's like, all right, there's transition 1. Then throughout the season, and it came up today, you talked about it again today in Spaces and reminded everybody that you had talked about it when the season was going on, which was true, where they almost transitioned to Trey Lance. They were really very close, and that first Rams game kind of held things off, and then the 49ers kept winning, and so it held off that transition. And then we have a glimpse of Trey Lance, and then the playoffs and everything happens. But we've got a transition of a big group of players that may or may not be back. We're going to lose some pieces on the coaching staff. We'll see how deep that goes. Thank God DeMeco Ryans staying. That's huge for the 49ers.
That's huge. It's
huge.
Beyond huge. He was awesome this year.
Yeah. And I'm happy he's doing that for his career, because I feel like being a coordinator for 1 year, maybe it's not long enough, right? And when he does get a job, I want him to hang on to a job for a long time, because I really do like him a lot, and I think he can be very successful. So I think the more experience, the better. But it's just a year of transition, and we'll see what next year looks like. Maybe we'll get into it a little bit tonight, but that's how I'll remember the season. And then just on a personal level, I'll remember the season fondly, because I started this channel last February. Well, the original channel before this one had to be rebooted, but I started the original channel last February during the offseason. And the 49ers brought a ton of content and made content very easy for the offseason. And then this was the first season where I fully just jumped into it as a content creator, met a ton of tremendous people, ton of people in the chat. I consider a lot of you guys friends or family. Nate, I met you. Nick from Nothing But Niners. Grant has been fantastic. Jackhammer, like so many people. So I'll remember it always for that as well. So this season's been great one way or another, and I'll always remember it for that. Steven says, hey, Jesse, just want to say that I'm a big fan of yours. Appreciate that. Thanks for keeping it real all season. Looking forward to talking draft. Yeah, guys, if you are not subscribed, I would make sure that I do so now, because this offseason, I'm going to be going real tough and going over prospects. The Patreon account's going to be full breakdowns of prospects weekly. I'll show snippets of it here, give you guys like a 5-minute rundown of every prospect that I break down. And then I'll be writing about those prospects over at All 49ers SI. So I will make sure that you guys are fully plugged in for the draft, ready to go. and there will be so much more. Hopefully I can get Coach McAvoy back on, who's Trey Lance's quarterback coach. Would love to talk to him, figure out what they're going to be working on here in the next month or so. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of things that we have going on for sure. I appreciate you for tuning in and sticking with me throughout the season. It means the world to me. Okay, enough about this season, because the thumbnail says that it's time to move on, and that's what we're going to get into. So for you, whether it's off season, future, whatever, what excites you as we enter the off season?
So my biggest thing with this football team has been, I think they're the best roster in the NFL if quarterbacks don't exist. If quarterbacks don't exist, this is the best roster in the NFL. They have an elite play caller. D'Amico has proven he's a great defensive coordinator. Fred Warner's the best linebacker in football. Nick Bosa is one of the best pass rushers. I can go on and on and on and on, right? Ambry Thomas came out and showed that he's a good corner. I think that KK may be seeing the down trend of his career, but they have Lenore, and hopefully he can fill that spot. But the thing about this team and the what they showed just shows me that they're not done yet. That this, and the way that Kittle talked about it, is it's not a successful season unless you win the Super Bowl. And we can be a little more optimistic about it, like be like, hey, they got to the NFC Championship. But the fact that Kittle is that hard on himself and wants to win the Super Bowl this badly, I really feel like this is the season that we'll remember about. Just as these guys went on to win multiple championships, all this stuff. And I think that next season we're going to see stuff on offense that we've never seen before. I just think that Trey Lance, I talked about it a little bit when you first introduced me. That throw against the Houston Texans is one of the most disgusting things I've seen as a 49er fan since probably Kaepernick was a 49er, maybe even longer than that. Like that throw is on a rope. Debo catches it and he's gone. And, that's the stuff that Garoppolo can't do. And the fact that we have that now, and I understand there's going to be growing pains and there's things we have to learn with Trey Lance. The fact that that's there is super exciting, because I think that's all I've ever wanted as a 49er fan during this Garoppolo era, is I want some more exciting plays. Like, I love the fact that Debo can make a 80-yard touchdown from just a little slant route, right? But I want the deep balls, because when you watch Herbert and you see the highlights that are getting posted of Herbert all the time, you're like, I want that. I want that more than anything. And I think we're on the verge of having that. And I think that that's the thing that excites me the most, is the potential of this kid who is 22 years old. And if he's what we think he is, or what we hope he is, we're going to be competing for not just Super Bowl like we have in the last 5 years. We're going to be competing for Super Bowls, because Aaron Rodgers is gone. Tom Brady's gone. Sean Payton's gone. I mean, Matthew Stafford, the Rams, and maybe Kyler Murray is all you have to worry about. I'm taking Kyle Shanahan, and I'm taking this kid over any of those guys any day, because I believe that what Kyle Shanahan did with Jimmy Garoppolo was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen a head coach handcuffed by a quarterback do.
Yeah, it's extremely impressive. And you referenced the comment right here. Yeah, that's probably what I'm most excited about, is just seeing the flux of not only the 49ers, and Lotha talks about it here, Russ may be gone. Not just talking about the transition of the 49ers, which is exciting. We're embarking on a whole new team, a whole new journey. There's a lot of free agents, and we'll get to those in a minute, but it's just new, it's fresh, it's just starting over. A new quarterback is like putting a fresh coat of paint on the walls of your new house that you just purchased, right? It just makes it feel like it's yours. And that's what Shanahan finally has, is a quarterback that he can call his own, that he can groom. And that excites me. And then knowing that some of these heavy hitters in the NFC are gone forever is amazing. The GOAT. And when the GOAT leaves, that's another team that needs a quarterback that we didn't necessarily think would need one, which means Jimmy's value continues to hopefully drive up. So all of these things are just getting better and more exciting as the days go on. But yeah, there's a ton to be excited about for sure. But I do want to ask you, because this keeps coming up. People keep talking about Aaron Rodgers in a 49er uniform. What are your thoughts on that?
It's funny because I ideally, in an ideal world, he would have been the 49er quarterback last year, and we would have been Super Bowl this year. Like, I just feel like that would have been the ideal scenario. The thing about it right now, and I think that the 49ers have kind of shown their cards a little bit. They kind of have a general idea of what's going on. And, maybe Garoppolo was always going to be the starting quarterback until, they didn't compete like they said. Maybe they weren't lying. Maybe we didn't look into things too hard. And so now they're in this transition period where Garoppolo has to go because Deebo Samuel is getting paid. Deebo Samuel is one of the most important weapons in the entire NFL, not just on the 49ers. And Nick Bosa is going to get paid. And when you sign Rodgers, that kind of gets put in jeopardy. And so I love Aaron Rodgers. I think he's one of the most amazing throwers of the football I've ever seen in my entire life. But you really have to give Trey Lance this opportunity to, give him the team and see what happens. Because I think that people are going to be surprised how mature he is, how smart he is. When people drafted Patrick Mahomes and people, had Patrick Mahomes play that one game at the end of the season and Alex Smith took him to the divisional round. Nobody knew he was going to win MVP the next year. They hoped he did, and then he did. So I'm not saying he's going to win MVP or they're going to win the Super Bowl or go to the NFC Championship again. But Kyle saw the potential, and we have to go with that because Kyle's seen the potential in a lot of these guys because the 49ers are drafted pretty well.
Yeah, there's definitely been. First of all, let me address the Rodgers thing. Yes, it's too late. You cannot. You already squeezed the toothpaste out of the tube. You kicked the tires on it before the draft last year. You were unable to get it done. That cannot happen again because it basically means you're moving on from Trey Lance, and you can't do that. You just cannot do that. So that's one. But God, I was going to talk about the offseason. What else did you say? How'd you end it? Lost my train of thought.
You're good. My thing is getting Trey Lance the best team possible is my number one thing, and paying Deebo and Nick Bosa, making sure there's a good football team surrounding him. Because if we can give Jimmy Garoppolo this kind of talented football team, and that makes it the NFC Championship, if Trey Lance is just that little hump better, the sky's the limit, man. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it didn't jar my memory. Either way, let's get to this comment.
Okay, I tried to give you a little.
You put it on a T-ball stand. I couldn't knock it out of the park. It is what it is. I'll remember it when the show's over. I'm sure it'll be fantastic. Edgardo Rodriguez, wrench guy right there. The ability to have a coach that can scheme players open deep and have a quarterback that can make the throw is going to be insane. Trey Area. Yeah, dude, that shit's ridiculous. I cannot wait for it, man. I really can't. And as annoying as Craig Papa is when he says that, he can say it all the game long if Trey's dialing up dimes the way that we hope he can. Oh, I remember what I was going to say, but before I do, let me show love to Edgardo. All right. I was going to talk about the pressure on Trey Lance. So you just talked about if he can be better than Jimmy. Now, year one coming out, this team just made an NFC Championship. What type of pressure is on Trey Lance? What are your realistic expectations for him?
That's a really good question because I've thought about that a lot. But a lot of people talk about the arm talent, right? That's the number one thing when people are talking about these rookie players. And I think there's something that's a lot more important that people don't talk about enough. With Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, that I think the things that people don't talk about enough with those guys, they're just really smart. Tom Brady's a genius. Peyton Manning was a genius. Those are guys who are just really smart. And I'm not going to clown on Garoppolo and be oh, he was stupid. Garoppolo was not, I wouldn't say he was a cerebral, smart quarterback. Trey Lance, from everything I've heard, everything I've ever seen, he's just smart. And everything I've been told is that they draft him not just for that arm talent, but the fact that he's smart and he can maintain these plays. My expectation for him is just to understand the offense, to run it, to make sure that you're seeing, I think he's going to have trouble throwing the ball with accuracy in some ways. I think that's something we noticed with Josh Allen. And I don't think Josh Allen is the comp for him, but Josh Allen, when he came in the league, he really struggled basically figuring out the accuracy in the NFL. Like he could run all day, right? But like his throwing ability didn't really get there until like the third year. And so that's the thing with Trey Lance I'm worried about. But the one thing I can't get over is he's blessed with Kyle Shanahan, man. He's blessed with Kyle Shanahan, and Kyle Shanahan makes it so easy. Jimmy Garoppolo just played an NFC Championship, and we know he's just 18 of 32. It's so easy because of, like, you watch a lot of all 22. How often are dudes just wide open, standing there like, hey, I'd like the ball. And if you have a guy who can get them the ball, man, anything's possible. And I'm going to go into it with an open mind, but I think he's going to surpass any expectation any fan has.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is I feel like there's a group of people that are like, well, if they can't make it back to the NFC Championship, then what are we doing with this kid? And it's like, well, come on, man. He's still a rookie. Like, we got frustrated with Jimmy because Jimmy, Niner by nature. No, thank you. I appreciate you. Don't thank me for that. But yeah, the thing about Jimmy is he was in the league for 8 years. We didn't enjoy watching him make those mistakes because why? We've seen it over and over. He's not getting any better. With Trey, I could see progression not only game to game, but legitimately play to play. There was times in both the Arizona game and in the Houston game where you watched him, they would run a certain play, and then later on they would go back to it, and he would do something better out of that. He would make the right read where he missed it earlier, or make the right throw where he would be high earlier. So, in the fact that he is so cerebral and so smart, a lot of people don't understand that. They really don't get that. That is the thing that's most impressive about Trey Lance. We can talk about his athleticism all day. We can talk about his arm strength, all the throws that he can make, his running ability. But he's here because he's intelligent. He's here because in college he was forced to run a very verbose offense where he had to call out protections and his own audibles and all those things. That's why he's here. All that other stuff is extra. And if you listen to Kyle Shanahan, he basically told us all of that pre-draft, and people didn't line it up to Trey Lance the way that maybe a few of us did. He basically said, first and foremost, I need to know that you can be a quarterback. After that, if I can get a Drew Brees with Lamar Jackson athleticism, that would be ideal. But I need you to be a quarterback first. And then if you can have those bonuses, we love it. And that's exactly what Trey Lance brings to the table. He brings that intelligent gameplay and just the ability to learn and adapt and grow at a rapid rate. That's what he brings to the table. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Okay, let's get into these free agents. And we're not going to talk about free agents across the league. It's too early for all of that. Maybe next week. But for right now, let's talk about some of these 49ers free agents and who you would like to bring back. So let's start. A big one is Jaquiski Tart. Now, obviously, there's the lasting memory of him dropping the ball, a clear interception. Some people want to say that the game would have been over then. That's impossible to say. There was so much time left on the clock, but it was big. It was a momentum swinger. They ended up scoring points there. Who knows what would have happened? But Tart has been very good all season. He did have yet another injury that crept up on him, but it didn't keep him out too long. And him and Jimmy Ward just have this chemistry. They've played together since high school. They really hold down the back end of that defense. What are your thoughts on bringing back Tart?
I like Jaquiski Tart. I think that unless he wants to take like a pay cut to make it work, I think that with them possibly trading Jimmy and getting picks from that, that I maybe go safety in the draft. I think that they like Hufanga. And I think that one thing we've noticed with the 49ers specifically is when they draft guys, the second year they're generally better. Like the first year is like you see some things. I think Hufanga will be a better player next year. Do I think he's as good as Jaquiski Tart? No. But this is what happens in the NFL. Like these guys, you can't pay everybody, right? You can only pay the really important players. And I think they'll leave it up to Tart and be like, hey, do you want to come back? Like, what are you looking for, and find out the money, because the money, there are guys more important than Tart. We'll talk about probably, like, Tart's important, but he's not as important as Laken Tomlinson. And so, that's something they have to figure out. They've done a really good job of drafting the backup plans. You talk about Laken Tomlinson, Aaron Banks is there for Brunskill. And so Hufanga could be that replacement, and that might be their plan, but we'll see. I mean, that's a weird, the way that game ended for him, that's a weird feeling for me, because, like, I appreciate what he's done, but he has been injured every year, and that's a liability. And the fact that, his final play as a Niner might be that would suck, man. If he dropped that interception, one of his final plays being a dropped interception would be such a bummer. But money's going to hit these guys really hard this year. I think that the salary cap is going to be a problem, at least until next year when it boosts way the heck up again.
Yeah, absolutely. So another player that you talked about in there is Laken Tomlinson. So is that a guy that you're putting focus in and bringing back for sure?
He's my number one. I think that I think you pay Laken because him and God, I'm drawing a blank. I'm doing it now. The best tackle in the world. What is his name? Oh my God.
Trent Williams.
Trent Williams. Him and Trent Williams have been so good together. The one thing I am worried about with that is the fact that, like, Mac has said he might retire. And if he retires, that kind of changes your whole strategy, because then no matter what pick you get for Jimmy, it's going to center. Like, that's where it's going, because they don't have another center. Like, if they can pay Brunskill again to play center, I don't want that. I like that we saw much more consistency on the line when Mac was there. My ideal line scenario would be, oh my God, Trent Williams, Laken Tomlinson, Mac, Aaron Banks, and then they have to make a decision on because they already did the 5th-year option on McGlinchey, but do they believe that, one of their other guys can do that job for cheaper and they could trade McGlinchey away? I think McGlinchey's good. I don't know what your opinion on him is, but I've always thought he's a pretty good football player that gets a lot of shit for. Can you swear here?
No, you can. You're good. You're fine.
Okay,
you're fine.
That gets a lot of shit for, like, the fact that, like, every once in a while, like, he's on one of those bad plays, but he's a decent offensive tackle in the run game. I think that maybe they're going to more go towards the pass game. Banks is more of a pass protecting guard, and maybe that might be where they go in that direction. It's kind of up to them, because this is like the great retooling of the 49ers. And so they have to figure out if they want to be a pass first offense or a run first offense still. And I think they're still going to be run first personally, but we'll see.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of people, and this is a name that people really haven't thought about, is Tarvarius Moore is still on this team.
That's
and
true.
He was injured all year. So maybe between he and Hufanga, they can move on from Tart. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Laken Tomlinson is a must resign. Now, another person that was brought up in the chat, Jason Verrett. What do you do with Jason Verrett?
Honestly, and this is like, maybe I'm wrong on this. I've had this opinion forever. As soon as he got hurt, San Francisco says, hey, you've seen the most success in your career here that you've seen in the last 5 years. Stay here. We'll pay you, league minimum, and you stay here with us one more year. If you stay healthy and you can beat out Mosley or Ambry, then stay here. But if he wants to leave, let him leave. I mean, he can't stay healthy, but just at least give him that opportunity to be here, because when he's healthy, he's going to help this team, especially with D'Amico and the way that D'Amico's run this defense. I'm beginning to think maybe D'Amico might be better than Salah. The way that some of the stuff he did this year, and the fact that they actually kind of blitzed a little bit more, which is one thing that kind of did bother me a little bit, is they just never blitzed. And you saw in that Rams game, there was a couple times where they did a linebacker blitz and Stafford just couldn't do anything. And so I just think that D'Amico makes every single one of these players better. And I think Verrett knows that, and I hope he wants to stay.
Perfect. Before we get on to the next one, we just crossed 100 viewers. So make sure that you are tuned in. Link is in the description to Niner Nate's Nonsense podcast. He's got a talented all-star crew coming onto his show. It should be posted next Monday, it sounds like, but the links to his podcast are in the description. It's a true podcast. It's not a video cast yet. although we're working on that.
Niner Needs Nonsense
But
2.0. It's coming.
there we go. Exactly. But it is a podcast, easy to listen to. Make sure that you go over there and show him some love for sure. Okay. So another name, another injury prone guy, Raheem Mostert. What are your thoughts there?
Man, like this is the one where I love the guy. And I really think he's just a good dude who's worked his ass off in this league and played so well. The problem I have with paying him is he kind of just did this stupid thing the year before COVID, the COVID year, where he's like, I gotta get paid. And the Niners like paid him and then he gets hurt this year. And it's just like, yo, dude, like you can't be doing that. Like that's not respectful when you have a head coach who literally can make any scrub off the street good. And so I don't think you pay him, and I hate to say that because I love that dude, but I think Elijah Mitchell and Trey Sermon are the future running back on this team. I think that Jeff Wilson shouldn't be here anymore. You don't really need him. Obviously, I think he's under contract, I'm pretty sure. But like, I think that you leave it in the hands of Elijah Mitchell and Trey Sermon, and I think those guys are Trey guys, not Jimmy guys. And I think that that's part of the great retooling of the 49ers that I'm going to keep calling it that, because there's guys they drafted that are Trey guys, and those guys should start over the guys who are Jimmy guys.
Yeah, and Banks is one of those guys too, right? They obviously had something in mind with him and Sermon and Lance, and we'll see how it plays out. But I would imagine that those three are going to get some burn this next year. Well, obviously Trey Lance will, but we'll see about the other two.
Isn't Brunskill gone no matter what? He was a 1-year deal, I'm pretty sure.
I think so he's one of the free agents. Well, yep.
They're not going to pay Brunskill. Like, I like Daniel Brunskill. I think he's a good dude. I think he worked his ass off to get here playing in the AAF, because I used to work. I think it was maybe the XFL or the AAF, one of the two. I worked for the XFL when I lived in Seattle, and those dudes, like, they were getting paid nothing. They were just there for the love of the game. He worked his ass off and he got himself to the NFL, and I appreciate that. But you don't draft a guy in the second round and not start him your second year in the career. Like, it just, if he sat, I'd be like, oh my God, maybe he sucks. I don't know.
Before I get to the super chat, I want to address this one. The Niners 2021 draft has been pretty suspect. Well, let me say this. I think for me, it takes 3 years to fully judge a draft class. And because you see so many ups and downs, what happens is as a rookie, you come in and you're either good right away or you're not, you're developing. But year two, the league kind of catches up to you a little bit and has film on whatever you've put out. And then year three is kind of your adjustment year to adjust to what the league's adjusted to you. And then that's pretty much who you are year three on. That's why, to me, I just want to see rookie players make progression and show something, right? So for me, Ambry Thomas, he showed me enough to be excited. Trey Lance showed me enough to be excited. Even honestly, Trey Sermon showed me enough to be excited. It was little, but there was flashes there, right? And we even saw it from Moore. The only guys that we really didn't see it from were Banks, to be honest with you. Hufanga showed us something. So to me, like, I think it's just way too early. This draft class, let's just call a spade, is going to be determined based off of if Trey Lance was successful or not. Like, that's the bottom line. If Trey Lance comes out and he's amazing, then the rest of the draft class, you're not going to say anything about. It doesn't matter. If he's terrible and the rest of the draft class is good, it's still a bust because you spent all that capital to move up. So it really hinges on Trey Lance. That's really what it comes down to. Let me get to this super chat real quick. I love the jersey, by the way. Bring back Raheem on an incentive-based deal like Sherman did. For me, that's a win-win situation. Raheem's vision and speed, it's worth it. We'll get to the other side of that in a second. I'll get your thoughts on it, but let me show Mr. Gray Fox some love. What do you think about that incentive-based deal?
People are gonna hate me because I don't believe you should pay running backs at all. I think that it's the most useful position to pay in the world. I think that, like, there's very few guys, like maybe Christian, Nick Chubb, God, I am having a night tonight. The guy, Dookie hair guy from Titans. What is
Dookie hair guy?
I can't remember anyone's name tonight.
Henry?
Derrick Henry. Yo, I feel so bad because your listeners are like, this dude doesn't know football. I'm tired. I worked all day. But yeah, like those guys, right? And so I like Raheem Mostert. If you do incentive based, sure, and like it's not going to kill your cap, sure, but like I just don't believe you should ever pay running backs, man. The Cowboys look like dumbasses right now paying Zeke. Did you see what he did against us? I think he had 20 yards. And obviously, we have a great run defense. But man, Cam Akers is a rookie on the Rams, and he had like 80 yards. Like, I just don't believe you should ever pay running backs, man. I just think it's the worst position to pay. I think it's the worst position to like ever draft in the first round. Like, I am anti running back 100%. So, I mean, if they can figure it out and make it work for what they want, yeah, sure. But my number one thing, man, I'll tell you all day, every day, all day, every day, is making sure Debo is the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL before Devontae Adams is. That's my number one thing. Because as soon as you pay Debo, Devontae Adams wants it like once more. And so that's got to be the number one thing. And once that's figured out and they have all the positions figured out and they're like, okay, we got a little bit extra money. Come on in, Raheem. Okay. But there's a lot, like it's very low on the totem pole for like things that need to get done.
I'm curious what happens with that because Lynch went out of his way a little bit to call Debo a wide back in the presser. So, like, are they going to try to lowball this dude? Like, I don't know. We'll see what they end up doing. I'm sure that they'll figure it out and get him paid. But I agree with you. They've got to pay him first. They've got to pay him first. And the reason it's so important is because a lot of the other rookie receivers that are big name guys drafted in the first round that year, they are probably not going to get paid till next offseason. And so those guys, you want to get Debo paid first so that they can all reset the market. And Debo will go from the highest paid receiver in the league to 2 years from now being like the 14th highest paid receiver in the league. So not that big of a deal. You got to get it done. Pay the man. I agree with you. Okay, 2 more names, then we'll move on. DJ Jones. What are your thoughts on him, bringing him back?
Yo, here's the problem, right? Like here, and this is one of the things where like I'll actually say like I think that they messed up is the Kinlaw pick. You know, you mentioned it to me the first time I ever heard it. I think I had you on like a podcast or something I did. You said, I don't know if he's ever going to be able to play. I think he has arthritis in his knees. And here we are. Like, what is this? The second year in a row where he hasn't really played much. Like he didn't play much the year before. And so that Kinlaw pick is looking worse and worse and worse every day. And I'd love it if he comes back next year and he plays fine. But I think you need to sign DJ Jones just in case Kinlaw can't play. Because I'm not trusting them. You know, I love what they've built with that defensive line. Don't get me wrong. Eric Armstead on the interior is, oh God, like chef's kiss. I love it. So good. And I knew it was going to be good when he got to the interior. You have Nick Bosa. They've got Ebukam still. I think they can find a way to get Arden Key on there as well. Like, but the Kinlaw thing is like the number one thing that I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like if Kinlaw is done and he's just never going to play and he never plays, I would sign DJ Jones just to be safe. But the only people who really know where Kinlaw's mind is at or any of that stuff is the 49ers. And so if Lynch, thinks Kinlaw's going to play and they let DJ Jones walk, I get it. But if there's any inkling that this man is still not ready to play, find a way to put some money in DJ Jones' pocket I'm not going into the season without another good interior player on the other side of Eric Armstead.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm paying DJ Jones regardless, and I don't think it'll take a ton, right? I mean, he's still a rotational guy. He's a defensive tackle. They don't tend to get paid a ton unless they're bringing in a bunch of sacks. I think they can make it affordable and bring him back. And I just love what he brings to the team, man. That guy's an anchor in the middle. And I absolutely love the way he plays football. And his motor is so high for as big as he is, man. That dude can move. One last one, because the 49ers, well, somebody brings up D Ford. D Ford, he's under contract, but they've got to let
I think it's after June 1st you get $5 million back or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Jesse made me argue with people this season to give up on Kinlaw. Hey, well, listen, I don't want to. I didn't want to turn your eyes that much, Pinor, but yeah, I mean, I believe. I don't care what anybody else said. I still think the guy has arthritis. We'll see how it plays out. But if that's,
I think you're right. No, that was the thing. When you told me that, I started like looking into it, and I was like, "Yo, Jesse's right. This sucks." Because I remember on the show, I was like, "Oh, we'll see," and I started looking into it more and more. I was like, "Oh crap, Jesse's right."
Yeah, I mean, I hope that I'm not, but Another guy that's there last year, you remember they turned Kerry Hyder into an all-star. This year, I don't even know if he's in the league anymore because he did absolutely nothing. But they did kind of
And the
the same
Seahawks were so
thing.
excited. The
Oh, so
Seahawks were
excited.
so excited. We're
So
like,
excited. Yeah.
we'll see.
But they did kind of the same thing here with Arden Key. So what are your thoughts there? Do they and should they bring back Arden Key?
I think Arden Key is just like a player in the perfect position for him in his career. Like if I'm Arden Key, like obviously there's probably be someone who'll probably give me more money because of what he did. But if I'm Arden Key, like I'm like San Francisco literally has me set up for success here because I'm gonna switch in and out with Samson Ebukam, who's a great football player. Like we've seen, like over the course of the season, he became better and better and better. But having that rotation with those two and then Nick Bosa on the other side, like and the fact is, the 49ers have shown they know how to continue to build this defensive line to be elite. Man, I really think that if you can find a way to sign that man, oh, you got to bring him back. You got to bring him back. Just because Ebby comes under contract, if you have those two guys, man, like that pass rush is so good.
I knew talking about Arden Key would bring Barry a baller out of the woodworks. He loves himself some Arden Key for sure. He was all over the Arden Key hype train in the offseason. So yeah, you know what? Listening to Arden Key talk, it was a couple weeks ago. He was just talking about this franchise and how much he loves being a part of it. I think he's going to take another 1 year deal at a low price, approve it, and then after that, he'll probably leave because somebody will be willing to pay him because he's had 2 years of production. I think next year he'll be even a bigger part of the rotation, so those numbers will go up. So I think he's going to be back. I think he's going to be back on a very team friendly 1 year deal, maybe some incentives thrown in there, and then eventually he'll move on because somebody will pay him. But I
Yeah.
think he knows that he needs to put together a couple good years, and I think that he knows being a part of this front with that coach, he's going to do better here and show off more here than he ever could anywhere else. So he may forego a million or two this year, looking at the future to put another 10, 12 million in his pocket because he does well here. So that's what I would say about that. M49er says Debo's had some drops in the past. That's true. And injury history. Niners still have the franchise tag. Should they wait and see?
No, no, the dude is literally the most valuable fantasy football asset in the world. Like, can you tell me anyone more valuable in fantasy football than Debo Samuel? Because I can't
No.
think of anybody. Cooper,
No.
like the man is not only one of the best running backs in the league, but he's also one of the best receivers in the league. That's insane. And that versatility and that ability to do literally anything helps Trey Lance immensely. Because I think, and someone kind of pointed this out to me on the Twitter Spirit today. I think Kyle Shanahan's about to play positionless football next year. I really do. I think we're really about to see, because it's always been kind of like this weird thing, because Shanahan, when he talks about Kyle Juszczyk, he doesn't call him a fullback, right? He calls him an offensive weapon. And I've
Mhm.
always thought like that's kind of a weird thing because only Kyle does that. I don't think Kyle has any specific position for any of these guys. He just wants to mix and match X's and O's like Bill Walsh used to do, but to a crazier degree because these guys are even more talented than they were in the past. Obviously, not more than Jerry Rice, but I'm saying like he can do anything with these guys. And I think that we're about to see positionless football where Debo is going to be everywhere on the field. And if you pay him what he wants, he'll be anywhere on there for you. And that dude, God, that almost made me cry on Sunday. Like
That was so
his
hard to watch.
passion for the game, his passion to go out there and do good. I think he got hurt. I think that's why they didn't use him in that fourth quarter. Also, Jimmy just couldn't do anything. Disaster piece that was. But I really think that dude puts 120% every time he's up on the field, and you should reward that. You should pay those kind of guys.
Yeah, I was pissed off after I think it was the Titan game when Jimmy came out and gave the old shucks, we just need to do better speech. And Debo's out there getting hurt, laying everything on the line. I'm like, do you not see how much effort this guy puts into the game? This guy's giving everything, and you just have this nonchalant attitude. It made me so mad. But yes, Debo, man, you have to. And I hear what you're saying in 49er because he definitely does have some drop issues that he needs to work on. He will get better. I believe in that. But the injury history was some soft tissue injury. He's very physical. Like I don't worry about his body breaking down in
Mhm.
other aspects. And I feel like as long as he keeps his weight at the right level, the soft tissue stuff will take care of itself. And it really did for the most part this season. I mean, he did have a soft tissue thing earlier in this season, but he only missed a game. He almost played that game. I think he's going to be fine. And again, if they take the path that we laid out, which is pay him early, he goes from being the highest paid wide receiver to 2 years, 3 years down the line to being like the 15th highest paid. And it's not that big of a deal. So I say you pay the man for sure. Plus, I've got a signature picture right here that I'm looking at, and I don't want to get rid of that. So, but I appreciate the comment, man. And Niner by nature, the best name in the business, says you paid DJ for that barbecue sauce alone. Thank you, Jesse, for the great content. Thank you for tuning into the show. Thank you for being a moderator on the channel to keep handling ish for me. I appreciate you. Let me show you both some love. You know, as I look at all the free agents that we talked about, the older ones, the injury prone ones, the Mosterts, the Verettes, the Tarts, I personally am moving on from all three. I love that they were a part of this team. I love that they brought this team to where it is. I'll always have fond memories of those guys, but let's just be real. To me, even if you can get them for cheap, they're still taking up a roster spot. And my worry is this: these guys are constantly getting injured. So if it's 3 weeks into the season and they get injured again and they're going to miss the season, then what you're looking at is a roster spot that was taken up when you could have given it to an undrafted free agent or somebody else that's healthier. Maybe like I look at Fuller from the Broncos instead of Verrett, right around the same age, but has always been healthy. Guys like that you've had in your building, you've evaluated and you developed that can step in for starters when they do get injured. So I just think even though it's inexpensive, it's a roster spot that they are taking up. And that right there is, that's worth gold, right? There's no price on that, but to me, it's worth a lot. And so I would let all three of those guys walk and wish them the best. I really would. Hey, all right, guys. So here's a moderator thing for you. As long as they aren't, being stupid and racist or whatever, let these guys stick around because whether they want to believe it or not, they're supporting the channel. So let this guy go off. I'm sure he's a Rams fan, or even worse, Nate, he's probably a Cowboy fan because the way that they danced on the 49ers grave after we lost to the Rams blew my freaking mind. So if you guys are Cowboys fans or fans of any other team that's not in the Super Bowl or didn't make it as far as the 49ers, or if you got knocked out by the 49ers, joke's on you. But if you guys are Rams fans, there's another one in here. If you guys are Rams fans, listen, you guys, it's your chance to gloat. We talked a lot of trash. You guys won. Go ahead.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Imagine getting beat by Jimmy Garoppolo. What does that do to you? Could you imagine getting beat by Jimmy Garoppolo and seeing that stupid face on the other side of the field smiling because he beat you? The Cowboys are never going to beat the 49ers. This was their best chance, and they failed. So they can go back to Dallas and enjoy Mike McCarthy, who's never going to win them a playoff game. I'm done with these Cowboy fans, man. I was like, these dudes must be the worst fans in the world to literally be like, oh my God, the Rams beat you guys. We're going to go talk smack. You guys would have got blown out by the Rams. You played Jimmy G and you were down by 17 at one point. You lost to Jimmy Garoppolo. You lost to Jimmy G. And the Rams fans enjoy this. You're in the Super Bowl. That's cool, right? You still lost to Jimmy G almost 6 times. So enjoy the Super Bowl. You're probably going to win because the Cincinnati Bengals won't be able to have Joe Shiesty have any protection. But if you lose to Jimmy G, your fan base is done talking shit to the 49er fans ever until you beat someone who's actually good because you lost to Jimmy G.
Hey, listen, I get it. LaRon says he's a Rams fan since 83. Well, listen, congratulations to you guys. Truly mean that. It definitely sucks to lose this late in the playoffs for us, but knowing the excitement that you guys are going through, genuinely, we hats off to you guys. You guys were the better team. And I hope you guys enjoy it because these moments come and go and you never know when you're going to get back. It's never easy to get there. So enjoy these next couple weeks. And yeah, you guys probably are going to win a Super Bowl, which is pretty damn cool. So congratulations to that. But while you're here, make sure you like and subscribe. I appreciate you. All right, let's get into the next one here, next topic, and final two, but it's kind of one. So today they talked about Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo talked about Jimmy Garoppolo's future, and he basically made it sound as if he's gone. And then Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch talked about his future, and they were not quite ready to let go of Jimmy Garoppolo. What are your thoughts? I mean, it's over, right? Is he for sure gone?
Oh yeah, he's gone. There's no way he's back. Like the fact is, you got to pay these dudes. My biggest thing with the way they said it is super interesting because it's like this posturing thing they do all the time, and they've done it forever. It's pretty wild. Like this man, Jimmy G, said, "Goodbye, faithful. It's been so fun. Thanks for everything. Feels great, baby." And here comes Kyle and John, like, "Oh, we don't really know yet." Like, it's like this man just said goodbye to your fans. He knows you already told him. And it's funny because they've done it all season. Like, they'll say something, and then Jimmy G will be like, "Oh yeah, I'm the starter. Yeah, fucking." And it's like they can't like keep anything a secret because Jimmy G, either whether he's oblivious or whether he just doesn't care, is telling the truth every time. Like, this man is basically like George Washington. He can't tell a lie. Like, all he does is go up there and tell the truth. It's wild because, like, Kyle be like, "Do not tell them that you're leaving." "No, of course not. Yeah. Goodbye, faithful. It's been so fun. Thanks for everything. Goodbye. Goodbye." I was like, okay, dude. I just think that's just who these guys are. Like, they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't really know yet." Jimmy G. It's actually hilarious though. It's funny because like you think Kyle was just like, "Jimmy, like really, you couldn't have just helped us out a little bit?" Like, nah, I'm gonna go be a Washington Commander soon. All right, bro.
Oh my gosh, PCR. I'm with PCR on this one. They're just trying to get his trade value up. It's nonsense. I agree, right? Like that's just the way that it is. They're still trying to drive up that trade value, and they know there are a lot of teams. The Bucks just entered the quarterback sweepstakes. There are a lot of teams that need quarterbacks, and they understand that. They're not dumb. They know what they're doing for sure. So yeah, we get it. We get it, San Francisco.
Try
Do
not to
whatever you
remember the
can to drive it up.
disaster piece that was the end of the Rams game. Remember like the good shit, which there wasn't a ton.
It's like, can you enlighten me? I'm trying to remember what.
I mean, when he threw the ball to the wide open guy that Kyle schemed wide open. Remember that part.
All right. Perfect landing spots for Jimmy Garoppolo. Let me know. I'm going to give you two teams, and then I'll give two teams, and then, it'll be like a bet thing. We'll talk about it later, even though we'll forget in a month, I'm sure. Look at this. Look at this guy in here. Gosh, he's been in my DMs today. Gosh damn it. Trey area. My guy Shay, he hit me up earlier. He's like, "Hey man, do you do video edits?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." He's like, "Can you do this and this and this?" I go, "No, I can't do that." He's like, "You're such a boomer." Like, bro, you're like 22. You can't do a video edit? What are you doing?
I can edit any
DMs,
audio.
you worm.
If anyone needs audio editing, I'm the guy to hit up. I know how to do it. I do it for a living. So
yeah, well, if you could audio edit Shay out of all the spaces, that'd be great. We can start there.
Nah.
He said, nah. Jimmy Montet, perfect. That's.
I got in trouble for yelling at like his sister or his cousin earlier because they were talking shit on the 49ers. And it's like, you lost to Jimmy G. You can't talk shit.
Oh, is it really like somebody he's related to?
Yeah, I guess so. I left the room because I wasn't trying to insult someone's family.
Oh, he's a liar. He's probably not related to anybody. I think he's full of it. But thanks, Shay. I appreciate you for tapping in. Once in a blue moon, you show up here, you spew some hate, and then you get out. But I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you. Here's some love. Yeah, you got timed out for being a Rams. Listen, here's the deal, Mr. Romero. We are squatted up in here. There's about 15 wrenches ready to put you in timeout. So you probably deserved it, man. Let's be honest. You probably deserved it. But we're not going to ban you. As long as you're mostly respectful, you'll be fine. You can talk. Go ahead. Talk your trash. We got it. But listen, enjoy your moment. like I said, while you're here, like and subscribe. We appreciate you. But yeah, I mean, these mods are 49er fans. It doesn't surprise me. They can do whatever they want. Like if they want to if they want to put you in timeout, then that's what's going to happen. So, all right, let's figure it out. Let's wrap up this show. Put a bow on it. Jimmy G landing spots. Why don't you give me one, and then I'll give you one, and then we'll go back and forth.
I'm going first.
Go ahead. Yep.
All right. Well, I'm gonna do the most obvious one. I'm gonna make him a killer bee. He's gonna be in black and yellow. Steelers don't throw the ball down the field, or at least they have with Big Ben. They tend to rely on a good defense and a run game with elite running backs. Najee, shout out to the Bay. Najee Harris, great football player. I really wanted him when I thought we were taking Mac Jones at 12. I was like, trade back at the first and go get Najee. And so my thing is that's the best place, man. Elite run game, elite receivers, great defense. TJ Watt, who's going to win Defensive Player of the Year in 2 weeks or 1 week now. 1 week from Saturday, I'm sorry. That'd be just a great place for him. And I think that he'd see success. We all know he's not winning a Super Bowl. I think we've kind of all come to that conclusion. He's had one of the best offensive play callers in the league and has got to a Super Bowl, had sniffed another one. He's never going to get past that next hump. But I think that he's good enough to give them some winning seasons, let them rebuild their, the rest of their stuff, and maybe get Tomlin his real quarterback when the real guys start showing up in the draft, because there ain't no real guys in this draft.
Somebody called She's Lewis. No, he's a Niner fan. He's a huge Niner fan. We're just joking. We're going back and forth. He's actually a really good guy. Don't tell him I said that. Here's another comment. Julio says, "What's up, Jesse? Just arrived. Appreciate you. What's y'all's thoughts on Jimmy's speech? Man, the love that he has for that locker room seems genuine to me. Did you think it was genuine? Everything he was saying?"
So I've done like a lot of research on Jimmy Garoppolo, just because I was ready to get off of him and, the person. And there are things I've heard about the person that are, kind of weird. But for the most part, I think that he's actually I think he's a good dude. I think he's genuine. I think that those guys in that locker room, no matter what he does when he's not in that locker room, they really love him. And I think that he's shown them the ability that he wants to win. I just think that his talent level just isn't what the 49ers need in order to win. And I think that that's why you ultimately move off of him. It's not just the injuries, which are probably number one reason, but the fact that just they feel like they need to get better at the quarterback position. And it's a business. If we were keeping guys employed because of how nice they are, then maybe I'd be employed. But I'm saying these guys are employed based on their football talents, and I would never be employed based on football talents. So it's a business. He understands that. He talked about understanding that actually today too, which was kind of cool to hear from him, just because he hasn't really talked a whole lot about the fact this is the end. And that was kind of cool to hear him talk about the end. But those guys love him. They'll be friends with him forever, and that's great. But I want football wins. I want that damn 6th ring. I want a quarterback that throws the ball downfield like Justin Herbert, and you got Dov Kleeman retweeting this. Look at this throw. Look at that. Look at this. That's what I want. I'm tired of, oh my God, look, he threw a nice little slant and Devo's gone. And that's fun too. But I want where the people are like, oh my God, that throw. I want that. Because that's fun. That's football.
I'm with you, man. And that's just it, right? Like when people are like, "Oh, why do you hate on Jimmy so much?" I'm like, "Listen, this is nothing personal." I think I've said this a million times throughout the season, extremely professional in the situation. And I think on a personal level, he's probably a pretty cool guy. I got to see the comment in a second. Probably a pretty cool guy. I think he's a good teammate and probably a pretty good leader, but that doesn't make you a good player. And that's where I'm at with Jimmy G. So it's time to move on. Separating the person from the player, I think he's a fine person. We don't really know these guys, but that would be my guess. And the player, he's just not good enough to cut the mustard. So Waruna comes in, says trying to win a Super Bowl like robbing a bank with a 16-year-old and then learner's permitted getaway driver. Hey, if you've seen Baby Driver, what is it? Is that what it is? Baby Driver or something like that?
Yeah.
That dude could drive. He was young, so maybe. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, that's that's definitely a good metaphor for Jimmy for sure. Let me show you guys some love, and then we'll move on. You what was the comment? What was somebody talking trash about you?
No, not at all. It was
Oh.
my boy Raymond. He shows up in the space a lot. He said Nate is tired of the struggle ball. I just thought it was funny. I just thought it was funny, man. I was like, because I am. I got sick of it. My dad was getting mad at me when I was watching the Packers and the Rams game with him because he's like, "Why do you yell at this team all the time?" I was like, "Because this is boring. Throw the ball."
Do something with it. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. All right. So I think Pittsburgh's probably the most obvious choice. I'm going to throw out, just because it's new and fresh and they're going to need a quarterback, I'm going to throw out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, how much more fun would it be for me to live in Tampa and know that Jimmy's in my backyard after rooting for him after all these years? I think it'd be a perfect landing spot. So I'm going to go Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You can go live in Tom Brady's shadow again.
The only problem I have with that is they throw the ball downfield. Their offensive scheme is definitely like you have to throw the ball downfield. And like because I was talking to Javi about it, I was like, I think this is great. Like this is awesome. And he's like, no, they throw the ball downfield. I was like, oh crap.
No, I agree with you. I just think it would be funny if he ended up in Tampa because I'm right here.
And
All
then
right, give me another one.
All right, you ready for this one? Brand new helmets, brand new jerseys. They got stars on them. The Washington Commanders. And maybe we're like breaking news right now because maybe people don't know. They're called the Washington Commanders. They're going to announce it tomorrow, I think, right? Like
I think it's tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, the Washington Commanders. I think that'd be really cool for him to be out there in those new jerseys. You know, handsome quarterback, handsome new jerseys, handsome helmets. It works. And obviously, like, I really like Gibson. I always have really liked Gibson. I like that they brought in J.D. McKissick because I think Seattle didn't know how to use him properly. And so that compound of Antonio Gibson and McKissick allows them to have a run game. And they have Scary Terry. Throw the ball to Scary Terry. He's going to get some sort of yards. And then they also have there's one more guy that they just didn't use much this year because he was kind of coming off an injury year. But their passing game.
Samuel?
Yes.
He's like their Debo Samuel. I mean, he's not quite as bulky, but he's a gadget player. The same Curtis Samuel.
I think if Curtis Samuel, if they can, if Riverboat Ron can tool his offense to work with Jimmy G, they could be pretty successful. And I would love it if they won the division and not the Dallas Cowboys.
I think they could win the division with Jimmy. I really do.
And I like Chase Young too because he's really good as well.
Yeah, he's definitely good. Joey says Niner Nate QB1. Julio comes back in. He says, agreed. I've always been pro Trey, so I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table. I truly think that Kyle can bring the best out of Trey. Yeah, we'll see, man. That's the hope, right? I think the best Kyle and the best Trey together can do some really amazing things. All right, so I was kind of joking about the Tampa Bay one, but I'm going to give you a real one. I think this one would be super realistic as well. I think maybe less so now that Sean Payton's gone, but I still think there's a possibility there. I think the Saints would be a great fit for him. If they're willing to run more of a dink and dunk offense, they have a very good defense over there, good offensive line. Now I know they've got some cap things they've got to figure out, but they always do. They always figure it out. They need a quarterback over there, and Jimmy's better than any of the other options that they have. So I'm gonna go with Jimmy and go into the Saints. I think that would be a great fit. So you had the Steelers, you had the Washington Commanders. Is that what we're calling them?
You come back to me and tell me tomorrow, and be like, you were right, you knew. And I was like, I'm just really good at this Twitter thing and seeing people post stuff.
And then I've got Tampa Bay, and staying in division, I've got the Saints. So, those are the landing spots that we have. There's plenty of teams though, man. There's so many teams. Broncos need a quarterback.
Someone said Houston Roughnecks.
What's this? The XFL?
It's an XFL team that comes back next year. Was that OG?
Did you see? I don't know. Did you? Did you see what Marshall Faulk said about him today?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
So Marshall Faulk was on the Rich Eisen show, and they asked him, he's like, what do you think about Jimmy? And they kind of got into it, and he's like, we saw what Jimmy was. He's, when it comes to clutch moments, like, he's just not that guy, and not everybody is, but I'm sure, he's a fine player and whatever. And he goes, okay, So, Marshall Falk, if you are running a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers that is in need of a quarterback, are you bringing in Jimmy Garoppolo? And he goes, yes, absolutely. I'm bringing him in to be a backup. I think he'd look great holding a clipboard. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, you're going way too far. He's definitely a starter in this league. But Marshall Falk, man, I just went in on
That
Jimmy
also
G. It was
sounds like
terrible.
OG.
Yeah, that sounded like, yeah, it was like OG got a hold of him. I agree with you. Nate, before we get out of here, man, thank you so much for joining me. I had a ton of fun. I knew that we would. I hope that the chat enjoyed it. We've now got 254 people watching. Make sure you subscribe to this man's podcast. The link is down in the description. He's going to have a bunch of heavy hitters on. Next Monday, he'll be dropping it. Guys like Javi, Vish, myself, Jamal, Amin the Dream. So many people are going to be on that podcast. So make sure that you tap in to that. Give him some love. Like I said, links down in the description, whether you're an Apple guy, you're an Android guy, the links are right there for you. And if this is your Spotify as well. Yep. It's everywhere. So it's easy to find. Niner Nate's Nonsense. Very simple. And then if you are here and you have not subbed, the algorithm says 51% of you watch this show on a regular basis and have not subscribed. So make sure you subscribe. It's very easy. You just subscribe, you hit the bell notification so you never miss an episode. Super simple. Jamal comes in last second, says, let my guy Niner Nate go to camp next year. Battle for tight end 2 behind Kittle. He's got a 6'5" frame. You're 6'5", right?
6'5", 255. Yeah. I am. I don't have an athletic bone in my body though, because I just never was very good at any sports. I just cover them because that's the closest thing I can get. But yeah, 6'5". Yeah, it's I always thought I'd be good at sports, and everyone always did. So coaches were always like, "Oh yeah, I want that guy," and then I'd get on the field and I just couldn't catch, couldn't block, couldn't do anything. I'm like, oh my god, this guy's just useless.
Did you get really tall at a young age?
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell a quick story. I won't go too long.
Yeah, do it.
No, go ahead. I was 17 years old. I was 5'10". Okay. And I went into I think it was my junior year of high school. And when I came into my junior year of high school, I was 6'5". And so my coach was like, we cannot play you at offensive tackle anymore. We have to move you somewhere. And so they moved me to defensive end, and I had to learn a whole new position my senior year of football. And I had no damn clue what I was doing. And so I went to this football camp, and it was basically like you learn that the position is literally just do whatever you can to hit the quarterback. And so I learned to earhole people, and that's the one thing I knew how to do, and just earhole the shit out of someone and try and get to the quarterback. But I mean, I was so awkward and so clumsy because I went from 5'10" to 6'5", and so I never really got to get good. I was like a third stringer, come in every once in a while, earhole a dude, maybe get to the quarterback, maybe not, and then go back out. It's fun to earhole people because when you hit them, they just go they're stunned because it hits. If you hit them hard enough, because you got to use the palm of your hand, they're they don't know what the hell's going on in their life. Their whole world just fucking collapsed. It's great.
Yeah, that's hard, man. That's a lot of growth to happen in one summer for any kid. I'd imagine that I'd probably be clumsy too. You like Bambi out there on ice. Jamal, thank you for the super chat, man. Jamal was on the show last night. Tap into that show if you haven't done so already. And then Eric comes in, says, love the content, brothers. 808 Niner gang. 808, that's Hawaii, yeah? Think so. Maybe. I think so. 808 and Heartbreaks, I don't know. Anyways, here you go. Appreciate you both. All right, y'all. We're getting out of here. Appreciate the chat. Appreciate the mods. You guys held it down. Like I said, make sure you subscribe to Nate. Links down in the description. And also subscribe here. Hit the bell notification so you never miss an episode. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. I'll be on with Grant. And then right after that, we'll be doing the call-in show so that you guys can come in and air out your grievances one last time for the season. And we'll just keep this baby going. Appreciate you, Nate. Have a good night, y'all.